playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'd make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions. Only.
Kevin Walsh here on SportsGrid, live from the decision desk. It's game time decisions. We're making decisions all day, all week, all the time, which is why on today's show, we will continue to get you ready for this weekend. Big NFL news. Get you ready for the college football board. Plenty of ranked action. In fact, although it's not ranked, we found out in this here studio, with this team, there's a major ACC battle. We will get to that as well. There is so much, but we, of course, begin with the Major League Baseball board, a board that has already seen 2 games settle up. The Rangers stay hot. The A's knock off the Boston Red Sox. Aroldis Chapman actually dealt the loss in that game. A rarity, as Aroldis has been pretty much unhittable this season. If you wanted, you could probably try and even throw out that AL Cy Young case, but it's just not really an award for anyone other than starting pitchers. At 6:40, even at 6:35, we have action that includes the NL Cy Young favorite in Paul Skeens. Pittsburgh, though, a curious minus 150, 55 range number at Baltimore. With Skeens, you would, I think, somewhat expect it to be a little bit taller. Maybe home field advantage, though, playing a factor here on that number. A couple of 640 games that will feature some best bets from our team. Marlins Nats over yesterday was a winner for Pat as a best bet. Goes right back to it. Chris will use Bobby Witt Jr. as half of his best bet, a Guardians-Royals game that yesterday was pick and is pick once again today. He's going to pair Bobby Witt Jr. with Vladdy Jr., so if you want to tail and get that in, you have to do so within the next 6 minutes. We'll also get into Mets-Phillies tonight as the Mets try and avoid a sweep. We have the Yankees looking to bounce back. They got rocked by the Detroit Tigers, and the Blue Jays looking to put another loss at the feet of the Houston Astros, who now, for over 50 games, have been one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. And there's only so long I can ignore that reality. But that is the reality. Since the All-Star break, the offense has been anemic. We'll see if it continues tonight against Jose Barrios. We will get more into that game. We will head over to this NFL Week 2 slate. A lot of movement, but none bigger than that between the 49ers and the New Orleans Saints. A field goal line, all but confirming Brock Purdy will be out for this football game against the New Orleans Saints, and Mac Jones will get the start. The super concerning part for the Niners is it appears that Mac Jones is likely going to be starting multiple games for this team, and it's so early in the season. You've not built up breathing room. You're going to be without George Kittle in this game. We'll see who else is healthy. You just put 31 touches on CMC last week. You imagine it's going to be in that ballpark again. And the other problem is, albeit on the road, New Orleans just not a team that you should be losing to if you are a group like the Niners with the aspirations that they have, certainly that I have for them. We will talk about that. We'll talk a little Tyreek Hill rumor mill. Is a Tyreek Hill trade inevitable? And if so, could he turn a team into a conference favorite if they are able to acquire his services? It's a legitimate question. Of course, Thursday night football tomorrow between the Packers and the Commanders will get some attention as well. Line settling at 3.5, not seeing much movement there. Total maybe on the way down, 48.5, turning into some flat 48s in some areas. We will talk a little college football here on our show tonight as well. The debut of GameTime Decision State University. We couldn't decide, GTDU, GTD State. There's Ohio State University. It's GameTime Decision State University. GTDSU. Some college football plays, things that we are the GTDSU, baby. Get excited about it. We're going to talk about some of our favorite bets, things we're already locking in and locking up for this weekend. I went through the biggest games on this slate today. A few things stood out, including there's other games to get to, so I'll see if it changes. I doubt it. I think my favorite prop all weekend will come from one of these big games, so we will talk about that. You've also seen a lot of line movement across these games. Georgia Tech was closer to a double-digit dog at home at the start. That number is down to 3.5. Georgia started as a touchdown favorite. That number is down to 3.5 on the road against Tennessee. Miami, in a ranked game against newly ranked South Florida, has seen that number start to climb towards the home Canes. So we will talk about all of this here on our show tonight and try and get you set up for this big spot. We will also talk target player props here on Game Time Decisions. For those who are new, here on a Wednesday, we do not have full menus just yet. And if you want to be an early bettor in the props market, well, let's try and figure out what are we looking for. Where may the books overreact, underreact, and present some value, including a key spot in the biggest game of this weekend, which is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. We will talk about a star player in that game whose number I have a lot of questions on. I am not sure how the books will look to play it, so we will talk about that. We also have the setting of our first WNBA playoff series. The odds are out for Phoenix, New York. The 4-5 is set in the W, and Phoenix is settled in as the 4, which is why they've opened up these lines. Despite having home court advantage, it is the New York Liberty checking in as the favorites, despite not having home court advantage, at over -200. And I think the biggest loser in this all is neither the Phoenix Mercury or the New York Liberty, but the already locked up number 1 seed Minnesota Lynx. The best team in the W this season, the champions to win the W, who've been flirting with a minus price for quite a while, assuming they get through the 1-8 matchup that will likely be against Seattle, and it would be stunning if they didn't, but they will then be met with either the defending champion New York Liberty or a really talented team in the Phoenix Mercury. You could argue the three best teams, you could make the argument in the league are the Lynx, the Mercury, and the Liberty. Well, the Lynx are either going to play the Mercury and the Liberty in round number 2 if they are there. A tough blow for the championship favorites in the W. We will talk about all of this, though, again, throughout our show tonight, but we start to really dive into this Major League Baseball board. What are the best bets? What are we seeing early? My goodness, it's already on Paul Skeens. Pirates didn't put up much of a fight in the top of the first inning. There are some value spots out there, including in the game between the Yankees and the Tigers, and potentially with the LA Dodgers and the late-night Colorado Rockies. We will get to it all. It is Game Time Decisions. Right here on the decisions desk, baby. We are with you on SportsGrid, getting over to the baseball board next after this break.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Donnie, the season is 6 months, 5 if you check out in September. You're going to have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month. That is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're going to win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes one. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I was looking at through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls and anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, let's talk some baseball here. Orioles-Pirates is live. I was taking a look at, and maybe I don't get involved in the market enough, so feel free to tweet at me, at @DKevinWalsh, if I'm crazy for what I was expecting. I was wondering if there would be some value on the Orioles to score first in this game. At home, that means you're batting second, and you're going up against Paul Skeens, who's got a sub-2 ERA. I thought that would be like legitimate, like plus 250 would be exciting. Had to at least be 2-1. It's like plus 150. I thought that was a little surprising. I thought that there would be, like, I was like, I got a free bet. You know what? Maybe I'll just pop it there or something. A little surprised that that's where the number settled in. Again, best bets for our team, and we can start to expand on this fully because one of these is outrageous. Pats is off the board. It's the over in the Miami Marlins and Washington Nationals game. Again, shout out to Marlins for getting over their win total a couple of weeks ago now at this point, and allowing that to not be anything to worry about as the Nationals kind of beating up on them. Chris has a hit-run RBI 2+ special between Bobby Witt Jr. as the Royals game gets underway, paired with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., which is going to be a big game we're going to get into here in just a moment, between Toronto and Houston. Bobby Witt Jr. unfortunately didn't make noise in his first at-bat, but it is a long game. I'm going to do something I did yesterday, which is take a couple of favorites who may be a tick expensive and play them together. Did it with the Phillies and the Rays, got the job done. Today, they're even bigger favorites, so maybe that's a little bit worrisome because we just know how that goes. But Yankees-Dodgers moneyline parlay it's the thing I trust the most here on tonight's baseball board. Blake Snell is in a bounce-back spot. Kyle Freeland is coming off of the game of his life. The Dodgers are a minus 300 favorite for good reason. I'll take that to basically bring the Yankees almost just over, an even money price here. Carlos Rodon has been dealing almost an under-the-radar storyline. It feels like I understand that Rodon's not going to be, the top story, but when we start to break down postseason baseball, if Carlos Rodon is keeping this level, it's a game changer for the Yankees. He has not allowed more than 2 earned runs now in his last 6 consecutive starts. I think that might be a sign of things to come up against a Detroit team that, has a 10-run inning, I think it was, yesterday against the Yankees bullpen. I think could be due for a little bit of regression. Yarnell's best bet is the outrageous thing. And we know that. We've come to expect that. It's a 200-1 Giants to win the World Series bet. And we need like a stipulation, though, here, right, on this bet. Because, admittedly, if they make the playoffs, it's a great bet. It will be cut in way more than half if they make the playoffs. But, it's got to feel a little more we need this team to, at one point at least flash as the wild card team, right? Or otherwise, maybe his best bet can't be a 200-1. Is that fair? There's got to be some trade-off for it here. I am not. It's funny, man. It's such a long season. The Giants. I was between the Reds and the Giants as my World Series future. Settled on Cincinnati. Was distraught because early season San Fran was hot and then acquired Rafael Devers. So I guess in some way we've come full circle. It doesn't look like either team's going to make the postseason. A lot of that's going to depend on the Mets tonight, right? And just the vibe around the Mets. The Mets had a really, really strong, dip in momentum early in August. And it felt like some of that was salvaged when they swept the Phillies. But we're kind of right back to it. This is a team that's lost 4 in a row, 5 of their last 6. Dogs tonight here against the Phils, and project as underdogs in the Thursday game. Not an easy next 6, albeit at home, but the Rangers are playing good baseball. Padres are in the thick of things. So the Mets, it feels like that's the team, right? The Cubs have definitely built up enough of a cushion. Padres probably as well. I think the Mets absolutely could upset Chris Sanchez tonight. They actually upset Chris Sanchez at home as a part of that last successful series. They really lit him up. If you were to look for a run line, maybe it's a little expensive on the Mets, though, but I think the Mets are live in this game. I'll also say I think the Cardinals are a little bit live against Logan Gilbert. I think McGreevy could be sneaky a little bit better. I think you could see Gilbert maybe be a little bit vulnerable again, maybe pair the run lines together. But the spot on the baseball board tonight I want to just spend a little extra time on is between Toronto and Houston. Because we did a Kevin 7 about a month ago around the best teams in Major League Baseball. And I put on full display how good I thought the Astros were, kind of identifying them, for me, as the best team at minimum in the American League. The Astros in the AL price have now been formally separated from the Tigers and the Yankees and the Blue Jays, and now jumped by the Mariners and the Red Sox. The Astros, despite being in first place in their division, the Astros have 5 different American League teams in front of them, and I'm nearly seeing this team now priced at the number I bet them preseason. And I can't be up in arms about it. The offense has been struggling, and if they don't handle business 10 days from now in a home series against Seattle, in fact, really less than a week from now, they go 3 at home against Texas, 3 at home against Seattle. That has to be a couple of series victories here, or the Astros could be in some real trouble because they are not playing great baseball. The one silver lining, and I think Jeremy Pena, if you're looking for my favorite hit run RBI guy tonight, it would be Pena tonight against Barrios, a little bit vulnerable against righties. The one silver lining for this team is my consistent, when does Yordan Alvarez get back? Talk to me when Yordan Alvarez gets back. Starting to pay off. He's played 7 games in the month of September. He has at least 3 hits in 4 of them. Something to keep your eye on. Let's get to the big-time NFL news next with you right here on a Wednesday night.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, yeah. I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions right here on a Wednesday night. A lot of good stuff still to come tonight. We're going to talk some Green Bay Packers, Washington Commanders. We've got Tom Vecchio stopping by. We're going to get his thoughts on our target player props, which will be in less than 20 minutes. Cam Stewart will be here in a little under an hour, so plenty of good still to come tonight on Game Time decisions. But we do have some movement in the market, and it jumps out right away when you see this game between the Niners and the Saints. Now, this line started at 7, okay? And I was going through trying to figure out the different numbers for the weekend. And a fully healthy 49ers, in my opinion, which should be laying over a touchdown to the Saints. Let's just work with me on simple spread math. Are the Niners better than the Cardinals? I know I think so. I would imagine most do. I'm sure there are some super high on Arizona. There is some juice with that team. But I'm not saying way better, okay? But that was a 6.5-point number. If the Niners are a point better, that's 7.5. You want to say, yeah, but it's key. Keep it to a flat 7. Okay, well, it started at 7. This line started at 7. Kittle's out. What do we want to move it for George Kittle? Half a point, a full point? That sounds heavy. That sounds heavy. Has to drop it under the touchdown number? Gotcha. Okay? Then you get to the Brock Purdy news, right? And that's where you start to really, really move this number. Is Brock Purdy, let's say we're moving this a point for Kittle. Is Brock Purdy versus Mac Jones a full field goal flip? I know I've said MVP Purdy a lot. Occasionally, I can't tell if I think this guy's terrible or really good. Honestly, I actually think I put that forward. I was talking with someone the other day who was kind of explaining to me, he's like, I don't know if you think Purdy is terrible or really good. You're kind of nuts. You're a little all over the place, right? And I'm like, I think, you know what? Keep him guessing. But Mac Jones, I mean, again, look, there's a lot of starts under the belt. He played a lot of football last year under the hat. You want a real under the hat? If Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't have a big game this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, he might request a trade to the Niners and say, I need to be here as long as Mac is the starter. Because, I mean, those numbers for BTJ when he's playing alongside Mac Jones were absolutely fantastic. This all just kind of falls in line with one of my week one overreactions we did yesterday during Kevin 7 about the Niners and the rest. I mean, we're already hearing like, yeah, Purdy's probably going to be out a little bit. And is that, again, if this was a playoff game, if this was the playoffs, do you think they're like, yeah, Purdy, NFC Championship? No, this is a little load management because they're at New Orleans, favored, at Arizona, favored, home against Jacksonville, favored. Whether it's Mac Jones or not, they're going to be favorites in their next 3 games. Tell me if you disagree. That Thursday, that Week 5 game's a Thursday nighter in LA. They would be a dog if Mac Jones is starting. I mean, they'd probably be a dog if Brock Purdy was starting, to be fair. But that's a long time from now. And if he misses the next 4 weeks, that's a month off. That's load management. They're already 1-0. They've given themselves some breathing room. If I said this team with Mac Jones as their starter is going to go 2-2 in those next 4 games, is that unfair? Am I giving Mac Jones too much credit? I don't think so. They'd be 3-2, and Purdy gets a month off, and Kittle would probably be joining him right away. If you're the Niners, I think you take that. So I think that is something to keep your eye on as far as, Niners futures may go. But I may still end up on the Niners here this week at a flat field goal. I know it's like, didn't you bet New Orleans week 1? Yes, I did. They had a chance to backdoor that number. There was a prayer there. But this feels different. The Niners defense is so much better than that of Arizona's. That can't be really debated, right? I mean, there's a reason Nick Bosa is already top 3 in DPOI odds, right? There's a reason why Robert Saleh moved to the assistant coach of the year favorite. I mean, they held Seattle to 13. You have a higher outlook for the New Orleans offense? I don't think so. I have my eyes on this Niners situation, which, again, every single signal tells us Mac Jones will be the starting quarterback for that game. I'll add this quickly, though. If you kind of agree with me, you know what, I'm willing to bet San Francisco, wait. This could get to 2.5. And at that point, we may have a lot of fun. I'll tell you one game that's clearly not moving to 2.5 or 3. That's Packers-Commanders. Is that good for Green Bay? We'll talk about it next right here on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid, it is game time decisions, and on Thursday night we will see the Packers and the Commanders with a 3.5-point spread out there that I have had a push and pull relationship already, where I was like, oh man, Jaden Daniels getting over a field goal, backdoor could be open. Then I was like, what if the Packers are just a juggernaut here early season? They can't set these numbers high enough. Covering machine. I'm going back and forth. So to perhaps add some clarity to the situation, or at least give a little more insight to one of the sides, is Jimmy Christensen. Does an excellent job covering the Green Bay Packers. You can find his work over at the Packer Report as well as the Pack-A-Day podcast. And Jimmy, I appreciate you making some time here, getting ready for a really big game this Thursday.
Yeah, it's a massive game, and I wish it wasn't a short week. Even look back at last season. Obviously, Packers played the Lions on Sunday. You look at statistics from last year. Teams that the following week playing the Lions for at least the first 7 weeks ended up having a rough following game, just because it is such a physical matchup. So I'd be lying if I said there weren't a little nerves there, even though we looked great against the Lions. But after a physical game like that, going 4 days later and playing the team that was in the NFC North or the NFC Championship from last season, it's a tough task. So I'll try to bring clarity, but my heart's a little bit torn on this one.
Well, give me some sense, Jimmy, as someone who had as close of an eye as any on that game against the Lions, because I think and again, it's probably in the eye of the beholder, how much of that game is about the Packers getting better, Jordan Love improvement, Micah Parsons addition, and the Lions missing offensive linemen year over year, missing Ben Johnson year over year, Jared Goff having more questions than I think some others. I still can't get over him getting ranked over Jalen Hurts and a lot of these things. I try not to bring it up, but it's like a twitch, Jimmy. I got to tell you, was that game to you more about Green Bay or Detroit?
For me, I feel like I would have to say it's more about Green Bay. Like, yes, the Lions, the interior of their offensive line, there's been changes. Obviously, the coordinators have left that team. We talked about that all offseason. But the way that defense, and I want to specifically focus on that defense, there was an energy. And yes, Micah Parsons was a big part of that. But even taking him out of there, the place he wasn't there, the way they flew around to that ball and just the aggressiveness that they had was something that we have not seen on the Packers defense for a couple years. Like we've seen it a little bit last year, but we go back to the time where we had Joe Barry, where Preston Smith was playing cornerback someplace. Like it was just a new change when you look at that defense of just the aggressiveness that they had, and everything started. They invested in that in both trenches, offensive and defensive. But you saw that right there of like they dominated the line of scrimmage, and those linebackers were flowing, making the job easier on the secondary, which was kind of the weakness going into the season. So I would say it's a little bit more about the Packers and them kind of really rising to the challenge this season.
I think for Green Bay, there was a level of energy that makes sense. People talked about Micah leaving Dallas and how that could be a little devastating for that team. For the Packers, there has to be an added belief, right? That your leadership says, you know what, let's do something we almost never do in trading away all of this draft capital, giving Micah Parsons a record-breaking contract, because this is going to work, right? You know it, Jimmy. The bar of did this work or not at the floor is make the NFC Championship game for the Packers. And, yeah, that's a lot of pressure, and that could be a lot of stress. But for a year two player, right, like Edge Cooper, he looks ready for the moment, right? For Rashawn Gary, who's a guy who, you know, I'm sure Packer fans have been really excited about, and, you know, is he going to live up to that full potential? He had himself an awesome game here in week number 1 against the Lions. So that defense flying around makes sense. The offensive end of it, though, is when you and I spoke a couple of weeks ago, I told you I have some questions on, and they came out of the gate. Bang, 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 no questions. It slowed down. Maybe that's the script. Maybe the Lions adjusted. What did you make of the totality of the Packers' offense against the Lions and how that will look throughout this season?
Yeah, it definitely slowed down in the second half, and I would put a lot of that to just Matt LaFleur being a bit conservative. You have a lead against a team that, with the weapons that they have, kid jump back at any time, eat some clock, just make sure you don't make any mistakes. But the part that was really promising for the offense is you look at last year, Josh Jacobs was top in the NFL at first half rushing yards. This game was not that. Like, we did not follow the blueprint that they had last season. He was held in check pretty much the whole first half. Mm-hmm. But then we got to see Jordan Love rise to the occasion, which we did not see last year. He hit 10 different receivers. 10 different receivers had receptions. He got Reed involved. Dobbs was involved. Golden got a couple catches. Tucker Kraft, obviously. So it was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion? And he did. So there's definitely a lot of bright side there.
For this receiving core, we knew it would probably be difficult to parse through. It's never going to read the same way the Vikings wide receiver room does. Justin Jefferson, top dog. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. Obviously, Addison suspended. But, you know the pecking order. The Packers is a little different. And that could be great for the football team. But for those who may be on props, certainly the fantasy community, it's hard to figure out. And I'm sure you heard a lot about Matthew Golden, because the Packers actually drafted a wide receiver in the first round. So if there was any negative that was going to come out of week number 1, it would be the Texas standout having just 2 catches for 16 yards. Have you heard anything around Matthew Golden and just the trajectory for, I think, a guy a lot of people want to be wide receiver 1 for this football team?
Yeah, the expectation is still for him to turn into wide receiver 1. But Matt LaFleur, he doubles down on, we're going to spread it out. We're going to keep the defense guessing. From what everyone is saying is he has a skill to get there, and eventually he's gonna be more involved, more targets. The problem is for my prop bettors out there, once he probably starts getting involved, Christian Watson's gonna come back into the mix. So you're gonna have to, once he maybe starts becoming that guy, oh, now the other person that we just extended yesterday is back on the team. So I honestly, at this point, if you're gonna throw a prop, close your eyes, throw it at a dartboard, and just roll with it, because you're never going to know with this Packers team.
Yeah, I think that is real. I mean, it is. This will sound demeaning, but it's a team of 2s, right? None of these guys are bad. None of them have an argument for I'm a top 10 receiver in football, right? There's 18 guys that can make that argument. That's not this Packers room, but it makes them tough to guard because they are deep. I'll get you out of here on this, Jimmy, and we really appreciate the time. But Monday Night Football was the other NFC North battle. Did you come away more impressed or by J.J. McCarthy because of the comeback, or do you think there are some real worries because those first 3 quarters still did happen?
That's a tough one. I would still honestly have to go with impressed in the ability for him to bounce back.
Okay.
As I know he's not technically a rookie, but going into your first year starting, if you're able to get over those mistakes that you made, a pick six, just a really rough first half, and to lead that comeback in the second half, that shows a lot about mentality. And I think the reason it comes with impressed is too because he has Kevin O'Connell. And as much as I love Matt LaFleur, you have a guy right there who is arguably, and honestly right now, even as a Packer person, I would say is the best coach in the division. Pairing that up, I think I'd give him that.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, Jimmy Christensen, follow all his work, does an excellent job covering the Green Bay Packers. We'll be back with you for Target Player Props on Game Time Decisions. Awesome.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Donnie, the season is 6 months, 5 if you check out in September. You're going to have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month. That is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're going to win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes one. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with obviously Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I was looking at through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls and anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions with you right here on a Wednesday night. Light night in the W. You've got the Sun and the Dream. Tomorrow is the final day of the regular season for the WNBA. We'll try and fit that in. Obviously, it's going to be a busy day with everything going on in the NFL. There's one college football game, I think, as well. But we'll try and fit that in. We'll see what's up for grabs on that final day. The 8 teams are set. We have to make sure that the order is set within those 8 teams. Major League Baseball board, just very quickly, okay? not too much doing. Guardians up 2-1, Nats up 1-0, Phillies up 2-0. The rest of it just starting to begin. It's still scoreless in Baltimore, Pittsburgh. We will get to all of this tonight. Okay, we've got Tom Vecchio coming up for you in 15 minutes. We've got Cam Stewart in a half hour. And Cam's got everything covered. Tom, we're definitely going to talk about our target player props with, which is what we're going to do right now. For those who, again, it's the first time we're doing this season, okay? Target player props, it's not that we're necessarily saying, okay, we're getting to the window on this. These are spots where, kind of as a team, we're wondering, what are the books going to do? I think the books are being presented with a challenge. For almost all of these, we have a lean, right, on we think there's going to be some meat on the bone, some value for the better, and we want to identify those numbers right away. But maybe the books won't overreact. Maybe the books will underreact, right? So we're going to try and talk through that. And let's get right to the biggest game. None bigger than the Chiefs and the Eagles. And I think Saquon Barkley's rushing yards to the over is a target player prop. Saquon Barkley in week number 1, 18 carries for 60 yards. That would have been one of the worst performances that Saquon Barkley had all of last year. The worst performance Saquon had last year was 18 carries for 47 yards. It was the first time as an Eagle he went under 80. The next week, he had 176 yards. Saquon Barkley, last year, when he had a game under 70 rushing yards, averaged 157.3 yards per game the following week. Saquon Barkley against this Chiefs defense, though, would have, I guess, perhaps bucked that trend if you're going from last game of the season, postseason, into the regular season, because he only had 57 yards. His worst yards per carry against any opponent was against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. But I think it's pretty easy to argue that strategy didn't work for the Kansas City defense. Jalen Hurts dissected that football team. Spags went in, obviously, with the mindset of stop Saquon at all costs. Understandable. He had 2 consecutive games averaging just under 8 yards a carry with 5 rushing touchdowns between the Rams and the Commanders. So you kind of get it. But it didn't yield. It yielded good results in stopping Saquon. It did not yield good results in stopping the Eagles' offense. So what will the books do here this week on the Barkley number? No way it's in the hundreds. That's for sure. Could we get a sub-80 number? Is that possible? Could there be some meat on the bone here for this superstar in this big game? I think it's on the board. Another interesting spot. The New England Patriots offense was incredibly disappointing in week number 1. I don't think much of the Raiders' defense. I don't know if any defense disappointed more in week number 1 than that of Miami's when you factor in the quarterback that they were playing in Daniel Jones. You might find that to be disrespectful. I think it shades more optimistic. But for the Pats to take advantage, they're going to have to be explosive. And while he's a rookie, the most explosive player on the Pats is Trevion Henderson. So I think a target player prop would be his rushing receiving yards to the over, because Trevion was not overwhelmed with touches in week number 1. 5 carries, turned that into 27 yards. A little bit of trickery on his long rush, which ripped off for 14. He did have 6 receptions on 6 targets, turned that into 24 yards. Even that is not super explosive. You would think Trevion Henderson would be able to average over more than 4 yards a reception. His final year at Ohio State, it was 10.5. Over his career with the Buckeyes, it was over 11. So Henderson could see an uptick in touches, and if not, just an uptick in efficiency, and that number should likely stay low because he didn't see a huge workload against Vegas, and the Miami defense did not inspire a ton of confidence. Jonathan Taylor averaged 9 yards a reception in that game, and overall at the running back room between Jonathan Taylor and DJ Giddens had 30 carries. It went for 112 yards. So as someone, you guys know, I'm interested in, I played the Ramondre Stevenson rushing yards over, and I think that has still, a chance to get there. It's 1 week. I think Trevion Henderson seeing an uptick in week 2 production is likely. So I think it's a target player prop. A target player prop towards the under is Josh Allen's passing yards. I am fascinated to see what the books will do on the Josh Allen passing prop, as he right now, of course, sits atop the league lead of passing yards at 394. 30 yards clear of the next closest in Geno Smith, just one of three guys to throw for 300 in week number 1. But 251 of those yards came in the fourth quarter. And Josh Allen last year didn't have a gaudy passing yard season. Now, I think that upticks overall, but there could still be some down games, which we've seen with regularity for the Bills' star quarterback against the Jets. In his last 6 meetings against this Jets defense, he averages 210 yards per game. That's not nothing. And that's this core, right? That's Sauce Gardner. That's Quinnen Williams. That's something to keep in mind here for Josh Allen. This isn't necessarily even to say fade the Buffalo Bills. They're a touchdown favorite. They certainly don't project to be down 15 in the fourth quarter like they were against the Baltimore Ravens. Do we see, last week's mid-230 number? Could it creep into the 250s? It's not like the Jets secondary had themselves a great week number 1 against Pittsburgh, so I think that's something to keep your eye on. We have a couple more to get to. Travis Hunter, Jahmyr Gibbs, okay? Kenneth Walsh, that Seattle backfield. My goodness. We'll talk about what we're thinking about next right here as we continue Target Player Prop.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, yeah. I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, tracking the live baseball board. A WNBA game is off and running as well. We will also, don't forget, talk a little college football before we get out of here. Game of the week to the team in the back. There's line movement since the show started. We'll get there, man. We'll get there. Let's button up these target player props, okay? We usually, I will at least say, we're thinking over or under, right? For one of these, I have no idea what the books are going to do, but it does make it a target player prop. It's Kenneth Walker's rushing yards against the Steelers. Again, I have no idea. Like, what would you... Here's the question I will send to people out there. What number would you need to bet Kenneth Walker's rushing yards over against the Steelers? Supposed to be a good defense, was very bad in week 1 against the Jets, specifically the Jets' ground attack. I think the Jets' ground attack is going to be good. So there's some leeway there, but I don't know if that gives them full leeway. Kenneth Walker had a rushing prop against the Niners almost at 60. He had 10 carries compared to Zach Charbonnet's 12. Zach Charbonnet had 47 yards and a touchdown. Kenneth Walker, no touchdown, 20 yards. We can all do that math. That's 2 a carry. So is cutting a number in half, is that unreasonable from the books? I don't know. If it's 30, I probably have to get in the mix. If they leave it in the 50s, I might have to play it under. I know that this is probably ridiculous, but I don't know if there's a single prop I am more fascinated to see than Kenneth Walker's this weekend. I don't even know if he's still the starting running back in Seattle. I was going to call him the starting running. I don't even know if he is. That is a target player prop. Really a one-of-one target player prop. A target player prop. Sometimes, you guys know me, like you'd rightfully call me a bounce-back merchant, right? Guy had a bad week, I'm going to be really interested. Or guy had a really good week, I'm going to sell high. Travis Hunter receptions over last week was something I bet, won, and I'm interested in doing it again. Travis Hunter receptions over is a target player prop. The very first overreaction we talked about yesterday is that I think Travis Hunter has 100-plus receptions this season. Week 1, team high 8 targets, team high 6 receptions. In a game, the Jacksonville Jaguars led by 2 touchdowns the entire second half. This week, they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals as a 3.5-point underdog. Pretty fair to say it won't be the same game script. And for anybody who's worried about Travis Hunter's snap percentage, it was everything you could want, if not more, in week number 1. I know there's a report that they may use him a little bit more on defense. Gift. I don't think that comes at the expense of what he's going to be offensively. I can tell you that number was 4.5 at a plus price last week. I don't think it drops, but I think all that happens is it goes to 4.5 at maybe minus 102, minus 110. And I think it still gets there because I think Travis Hunter is a 100-plus reception guy this season. And if Cincinnati plays from in front in this game, if their offense wakes up here in week number 2, Travis Hunter could have a huge game. Something to keep your eye on. Last one. And this one, I mean, listen, again, we work as a team, but this one was really identified to me, and aspects of it I didn't even really realize. So anytime touchdown scorer prices just in general, it feels like the top guys are hard to get to, right? Saquon Barkley minus 200, Derrick Henry minus 185, Bijan Robinson minus 190. It looks like because of the road spot and because of still some question marks in the backfield, Jahmyr Gibbs was around a minus 115 bettable number. If that's the case, then Jahmyr Gibbs not getting in last week, and if that's the entry fee, his anytime touchdown prop is an absolute target. Because Jahmyr Gibbs, here's a simple one. Jahmyr Gibbs had 0 games last year where he didn't score an anytime touchdown in consecutive weeks. So, bounce back spot, clear and obvious and identifiable. But the important note on Gibbs, while the lack of carries was frustrating, he had 10 receptions. And we saw Aaron Jones with the receiving touchdown last week against the Chicago Bears. They still allowed a rushing town, albeit to the quarterback, but JJ's obviously far more athletic than Jared Goff is. Gibbs, if that price, minus 120 or less, that's a legit target heading into week 2. We'll be right back. More Game Time decisions.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
GameTime decisions right here on a Wednesday night. The Major League Baseball board off and running. Still some games to come to help us talk about that and plenty of other items on the agenda. It's, of course, Tom Vecchio. Tom, always good to have you here on GameTime decisions. There's a lot I want to talk to you about, so just tell me, baseball board, anything you have already bet that's in action or upcoming?
Well, I bet the Brewers before, and they lost, so that had action, and that's now done. But going to Cal Raleigh for 2+ total bases. He's going up against McGreevy from the Cardinals, who's just absolutely terrible. Let's just call it what it is. He's a terrible pitcher. Bounce back spot. I know you love those. Cal Raleigh over 3 last night. Love the splits. They're in a tight playoff race. He's, minus 105 for 2+ total bases. You give me a player akin to Cal Raleigh at minus 105 in a great split, we just fired that up for 2+ total bases, especially when he was over 3 yesterday. Easy.
Tom, have you been still keeping tabs on this AL MVP race? Is Judge is sitting as the favorite? Do you have any? I'm not saying not. Yes, from a betting perspective, if you're like there's value on Cal Raleigh, but what do you make of this race still?
Nothing's really changed. If Cal Raleigh does crazy stuff and they win the division, I think that's a big part. I think that would be a real conversation at that point. But until we get there, it's kind of just like, we'll wait and see.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you have a play. We're doing some target player props for the weekend, Tom. We'll get to that. But you have something you're already placing for Thursday Night Football, Packers Commanders?
Yeah, let's get to Austin Eckler over 20.5 rushing yards. And I have seen this number kind of all over the place. I saw FanDuel and DK. I think FanDuel and DK had it at 25 and 24. Fanatics had it at 20.5 with minus 125 juice to the over. So there was a little bit more juice, but I'll play the 20.5, even with a little bit extra juice. Really like what I saw from Eckler last year. I like what I'm seeing from him this year. Small sample size, obviously, last week, but he's the receiving down back, and we're going to be seeing them playing from behind and Green Bay bringing the pressure. Austin Eckler last week had a negative 2.3 ADOT, average depth of target. He was being targeted behind the line of scrimmage. So if Daniels has to get the ball out quickly, just get these quick checkdowns, give me 9-10 yards on a couple, and boom, we're over 20.5.
Yeah, fair enough. That is a short number there on a guy that on a short week they may need to lean on a little bit more. Now, Tom, I do want to throw these target player props your way because this is just super up your alley. I want to start with the star, okay, and that is Saquon Barkley. Now, you acknowledge it. I acknowledge it. Anybody who does I don't know, 2 shows with me at some point. It's like, oh, he loves bounce backs. Saquon Barkley last week had 60 rushing yards. If you go back to last season, when he had under 70, in the next game, he averaged 157 yards, which is ridiculous. You factor in that the Chiefs in the Super Bowl sold out to stop Saquon. I am curious if the books give us a much shorter number, okay, for Saquon Barkley here than we are. I'm not saying 50. That's ridiculous. But, you know, I don't know. Am I crazy? Is 79.5? Is that a crazy expectation? What do you think?
Yeah. What was he game 1? It was 89. I think in the opening week against the Cowboys last week. It was somewhere around there. Like, it's not going to drop by 10, 15 plus yards. And frankly, as I've always talked about with you, I think that's a totally reasonable way to go about it. But it is a super chalky type of bet. And I generally don't like to go to like Jamar Chase, Saquon, whatever it might be, just because I think their numbers are inflated. The answer for Saquon is always over longest rush over whatever that is. Because he's always ready to break one off for 18, 25, 40 yards. So there are ways to go about it if you would like to go to Saquon total carries. Totally on board with that. It comes down to what the number is for Saquon on just total rushing yards. But I have no problem with it. I'm just very sensitive to what the line would be.
And let me just say this, and too, like, truly, I think Tom's on it. Without even looking at what would the bounce back trends of a long rush would be necessarily, because of how Kansas City is, hard to imagine he gets to, again, because the number's not going to be light, right? It could be. Right. It's hard to imagine he gets to the number we would be betting over without that long rush, depending on what that number is. Tom, in a completely reverse approach, right? The sell high. Josh Allen throws for 394 in week 1. He is capable of doing that any week. But last year, Josh did not have consistently big passing numbers because I don't necessarily think that's how Buffalo wants to play. And through 3 quarters, we saw that. He had 251 yards in the 4th quarter. Obviously doesn't project to be down 15 in the second half against the Jets. They're a touchdown favorite. And over the last 6 meetings against this Jets defense, he's only thrown for 210 yards per game. I'm wondering if we see a Josh Allen passing yards prop get released in the low 250s, which would be about 15 yards higher than last week off of his Sunday night MVP performance.
Right, and I would say, a couple things. Actually, this is really interesting. Like, I have just immediately a ton of thoughts. One, it is Aaron Glenn. It is a different defense than what we saw in previous years. 2, if the Bills are out ahead by 7+ points, the under is just the way to go because they're going to be running the ball more. He won't have to pass it. And frankly, if you think he does go over that number, either A, he's super efficient and the Bills team total flies over, or if he's going over that number, that means the Jets are live to win the game theoretically. Because if he has to pass for 280 yards, the Jets are in play, or he just does that in the first half and they put up 28 points by halftime.
Right. I am super fascinated to see what they do with that Josh Allen number. Another one, Tom, that I'm really interested in, rookies are being talked about, I feel like, a lot because it feels like there's just a lot of relevant offensive guys. And Trevion Henderson, right, was put on my radar. And I played a Ramondre Stevenson season-long under. So technically, I should be trying to push back against this. But he is the most explosive player probably on the offense as a whole. And they're just going to need to get him more touches. Also, 6 receptions for 24 yards. That's lower efficiency than we would think for Trevion Henderson. Again, in the back was really suggested for him, his rushing receiving target player prop towards the over. What do you think, like, over the course of the season, Trevion is expected to deliver on promise? Could it be as early as week 2?
I think so. We had that conversation about Ramondre Stevenson. I just don't think Ramondre Stevenson is good. That's what it comes down to. So, like, giving more touches to Henderson, sign me up for that against this terrible Miami defense. Him breaking one off, we can get over this number quickly. So, absolutely, let's fire it up.
So you're sold on Trevion. Tom, I'll send it. You and I had an interesting back and forth where I think we were kind of we both liked the 2 guys, but to each his own of Emeka Egbuka and Travis Hunter. Yeah. And Emeka has the multiple touchdowns. But I was very encouraged what I saw from Travis, and I noticed you placed a bet that I had been talking about, not saying you got it from me, but we were seeing it the same, Travis to catch a pass on the very first drive. I think his receptions over is a target until adjusted. Tom, in fact, I said yesterday on the show, I think he has 100-plus receptions this season.
So we had the eight targets are what's most important to me. The yards, 33 yards on 6 catches is kind of inefficient. It just is. But the targets are what are important. Now, obviously, this game factored in a couple different things with this delay that they had. But I would be more interested in going to his targets. But I would say probably an alt yardage total. Because if he's getting that volume of targets, the efficiency will pick up at a certain point. Instead of getting just 33 yards on 6, like he's going to break one of those off, as a lot of players can do. But as I've said time and time again, but you give me a 50-plus, that's probably the most interesting Hunter prop to target until lines are adjusted.
It's a great point by Tom. So last week, I played the reception. I actually ended up dead break even on his reception, because actually the receptions were plus 117 over, and it was a minus 117 I got on his yard. So it was a legit zero-sum situation. I wonder how they move the yards off of, wow, 6 catches, 8 targets, but 33 yards. Again, it's a great play. It's a great point by Tom, and it's why we wanted to bring him in for target player props. Tom, we really, really appreciate it. We've got Cam Stewart coming up. Could he maybe help us out with this Seattle backfield? I don't know if really anybody can, but we'll talk to Cam next.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A man who needs no introduction joins the show. I'll give him an introduction, though. He's one of the best at what he does. It's Cam Stewart right here with us on Game Time Decisions. Cam, I am always excited to talk to you. I imagine my parents are actually, I'll tell you, I only tell Cam this stuff. My parents are on vacation. And the only thing that could maybe make them actually, check in and interrupt vacation if I told them that Cam Stewart was joining me here. Cam, always a pleasure. How are we feeling on a Thursday night?
I got to tell you, Kev, too, I remember my buddy's in Costa Rica. He's like, I see you and Gabe on TV. And then another buddy went to Mexico. He's like, you guys are on the TV at the bar. I'm like, it's almost like we got to do SportsGrid International because all these guys who like do this stuff in Jamaica, whatever. And that's the crazy thing with these new TVs. Like we're on everywhere and whatever. And like every time my buddies go on trips, they're like, hey, I see you on TV on SportsGrid. But Kev, you know what the best thing about life is? Unlike your dad, who's just a regular guy like me, sucks back beer and just wants to bowl.
Yeah.
These golfers, money's not enough. It's like there's no break, there's no anything. And these guys, hey, let's play again. Let's make more money. The PGA Tour, it's not over at all. People are like, oh yeah, it starts in January. No, it doesn't. Like they're playing the Pro Tour right now, and in Europe, they're playing the BMW Championship. And have you seen the guys in these tournaments, Kev? Like it's like a major. Like Scotty Scheffler's playing the silver, like at Silverado. Like what is happening here? He's 2-1.
Why? How'd he sneak in? How'd he sneak in there?
Oh, he's an animal. Like he's like, I guess he doesn't want to make ravioli, cut his hand on like, hey, honey, how do you do? Oh, the sharp glass. But the thing is, like, these guys are going to the Ryder Cup, and they looked at Europe and go, you should see at the BMW, Hatton, Fleetwood, Rahm, Rory. Like, so I guess America's like, well, maybe we won't take the week off. We're going to go play the Silverado and get gassed up for this tournament.
I will ask you about the golf. I want to ask you, though, Cam, about a couple quick NFL things because you are someone who is not afraid of getting in with the ugly. We might have ugly versus ugly this week. You either have to back the New Orleans Saints or you got to back Mac Jones as a road favorite. And it's one of those games, Cam, that, I got to tell you, the more this line drops, the more I feel like I may end up on Mac Jones. I'm curious if this one's speaking to you at all.
Are you telling me that Saints line's like 3.5 now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know the Seahawks played the 49ers last week, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, oh, the 49ers dominated. Yes, they did in the second half. But if you watch the first half of the game, I watched every snap of that game. Charbonnet and the Seahawks were punching them in the face. The problem is they didn't get aggressive enough, settling for field goals, fourth and 2, settling for a field goal. But I'm going to tell you this, the Saints almost covered against Arizona. Like they were driving in, Kev, for a score to get things done. Like people in survivor pools with Cincinnati, Arizona, like even Denver for that matter. Like Tennessee was very much in that game, right? I was on Jacksonville and people thought I was insane. But 3, I need more with the Saints. You got to give me like 4.5 at least to take that. But your Eagles too, interesting game against the Chiefs. Isn't it? Like, Kev, here's the deal. You could make the Eagles 2.5, 3. Who's betting the Chiefs after that game against the Chargers? You tell me.
Well, I think the way to get people to bet Kansas City is to basically put Mahomes as an underdog, and then all the Mahomes underdog stats get released, where he's basically unbeatable. And that's kind of the tough spot. I actually think it's a good Eagles spot because Kansas City's coming back from Brazil. They played on a Friday. Philly played on a Thursday. But I know it's like semantics, right? The line is so close, but betting Mahomes as a home underdog, that's a tough task.
It is. Their injuries are huge too, but the thing is, like, you can make the Eagles 2.5, 3, and people are still going to bet Philadelphia, and that's the crazy thing about the NFL. Kev, I'm not going to lie. I did a couple good things like Browns, but even I told Gabe, I'm like, I got a weird vibe with the Giants. Like, I like them all week, not covering.
Yeah.
And the Washington Commanders kicked their ass. But I got some ugly pooches for you right now. Like, I'm thinking about taking Tennessee against the Rams. That's a game that intrigues me. And on Thursday night, I'm not lying. I've already bet Washington at 4.
Okay.
I know it's 3.5 now. And people are like, oh, Green Bay looks so good against Detroit. But let me tell you something about that Washington game. Terry McLaurin was not at summer camp or whatever. Him and Daniels were just a smidge like off in that game. And I'm telling, the Giants suck. Well, I watched Washington's defense actually play pretty good. Oh, Green Bay, they destroyed Detroit. Let's remember something about Detroit. Ragnow's gone. Huge divisional game. Changes of coordinators. Kevin, you know this as well. Like we work at a gambling network. Spots are very important. Styles make fights. And I got to tell you, I think Daniels and the Washington Commanders are live in this game. I think they can win outright. 48.5, I lean under.
Let me get you, Cam, just because I know we only have a little bit of time left. because the golf tournaments that you were talking about, I know you've gone through those already, and you're going to try and find some value. So let the people know who are still interested in betting the golf here in September. You mentioned it. There's some stars out there. What stood out to you?
I'm going to tell you something, Kev. I can't believe how many good guys are playing these golf tournaments.
Yeah.
This Procore Championship is nuts. But the BMW is, have you seen the guy? Rory won last week. John Rahm, Fleetwood. Like, I'm looking at these guys going, Ryder Cup, Ryder Cup, Ryder Cup. That's the whole thing. These guys are getting tuned up. I'm going to take, basically, you give me Ty Hatton at anything over like 15-1 at a BMW championship. I don't care if it's Saudi Arabia. I don't care if it's Wentworth in England. That's 22-1. And Alex Noren, despite playing on the PGA Tour in the United States, is one of the best European players. He's had a great second half. 45-1 is a great price. Kev, the crazy thing about football is I take my bankroll and I'm like, hey, I'm on Thirsty Thurston Lawrence at 50-1. He actually won 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I thought I had like $20. I look, oh, $5. Oh no, $5. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, parlay, teaser, doing this, doing that. And the Procore in California, this tournament, Ben Griffin, I think, is one of the best stories in golf right now. This guy is a workaholic, kind of like you and Morency, 26-1. Jackson Koivu, great amateur from Auburn. All this guy does is show up and deliver and make cuts, 55-1. And Luke Clanton, hey, here's the deal, Luke. You got to start showing up soon at 100-1. I'll take you.
Putting my work ethic in the same breath as Gabe's is one of the nicest things anyone has ever said to me. Gabe yells at people when he's not. It's incredible. He's the best. I think we're going to hit the break. Cam, you're the best. We'll check in next week. We'll be right back.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, game time decisions. A lot of good stuff for you to close it out here on a Wednesday night. Let's update your live board quickly. If you are betting in the WNBA tonight, you have one game. Tomorrow is the close of the WNBA season. Atlanta wanting an opportunity to get up to the 2 seed, which of course would be valuable, hanging it on the Connecticut Sun 51-28 at the break. If the Dream win tonight, which again, it would be a miracle if they didn't, Vegas then needs to win tomorrow on the road against the Sparks, close out the regular season on a 16-game win streak to hold on to the 2 seed. We'll see if they're able to do that. Again, you already have the lines out and available for New York and Phoenix, the 4-5. The Mercury are home. The Liberty are favorites for that series. Those numbers are all out and available. The Major League Baseball board, again, off and running. Pirates scored first. It's 1-0 because, of course, it is. Because, of course, with Skeens, he goes only 5 innings, 2 hits, 8 Ks, which goes over strikeout, only 64 pitches. I don't have an eye, but that would probably let you know that you're not going to get Skeens isn't throwing 100 again this season because the Pirate season is over. And also, really, the Cy Young race is as well, so there's not as much to fight for. 1-0 Astros up on Toronto. Scoreless so far through 2 in Atlanta, Chicago. Scoreless through 2.5 Yankees, Tigers. I'm on the Yankees, parlayed with the Dodgers in that game for a best bet. You're going to need some runs if you're on the over in Miami and Washington. Nats up 1-0. The Nats have been playing a lot of winning baseball recently. Royals are trailing 3-2. Against the Guardians, but Bobby Witt Jr., 2+ hit run RBI, is in the door. 50% of Chris's best bet, which is now in need of Vladdy Jr. to get 2+. 200-1 Giants to win the World Series. Again, if at some point they do not at least hold a playoff position, we're going to have to figure out something here because that is an outrageous best bet on a 200-1. We have some college football to talk. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything else here on the way out. I want to make sure that we've got everything else settled up here to close out this Wednesday night. We did our target player props. I believe we've handled just about everything else. It's been a treat. Tomorrow on a Thursday, of course, we've got Packers Commanders. We talked to Jimmy Christensen today. Gave us some great insight on Green Bay. So if you are maybe just tuning in now, you guys can there's, I don't know if they do a replay of the show, but it's always posted on YouTube. You can kind of scroll back through the feed, so it's out there and available. Now, GameTime Decision State University, GTDSU, the GameTime Decision State University. Some college football picks. What are we willing to get on the board with? What are we not? And I could do a lot on all 3, okay? I'll try and do my best. Firstly, Yarnell's going to lay 27.5 with Oregon. This is the 3rd consecutive week at some point Oregon's spread is 27.5. They played an FCS team in Montana State, covered. They played Oklahoma State, still a soft subject for me, covered. They won the game by a zillion, even went up to 28.5. Now they played Northwestern. We'll see. The most difficult thing for me when I watch Oregon be great is it was down to them and another team to be my national title pick. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm sorry, this might be offensive. I took the coward's way out and took Clemson. And Clemson hasn't looked a level. And Clemson now it's on full display how much they've not looked a level. They are a 2.5-point favorite in spots against Georgia Tech in what is now the crew game of the week. Chris is all over Clemson. He loves them in this spot. This has been a falling number. This was at 1.9. I don't know. So for those that don't know, Haynes King, right, had the great game against Colorado. Didn't play week 2. Is that why the number started at 9? Expectations, is he going to play? Could he not play? What would the number close at? But Pat's on the other side. That's a great one. Lagway over 208.5 passing. Very simple. Lagway he's very on his completed passes. It's a lot of chunk plays. He should have to throw 30 times in this game. In his career, when he's thrown at least 25 times, he's never missed 220 yards. This is 208.5. I will tell you, though, because this is my favorite bet in Florida and LSU, and you know you're going to get flooded with boosts for this game because it's such a big game. At least that's what I would think. I'm going to wait to play this when those boosts come out, but I'm on it. I love DJ Lagway over the 208.5 passing yards for Florida. LSU. We'll talk more college throughout the week. Tomorrow is Commanders Packers. Next is In Game Live.
Moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff